What happens when a beloved daytime talk show host and a celebrity chef collide in the most unexpected way possible? The View has weathered countless heated moments over the years, but nothing prepared the audience for what unfolded the moment. Guy Fieri took his seat at that iconic table. Before we dive into the chaos, hit subscribe and drop a comment, because this one is truly jaw-dropping. The studio was electric when Guy walked out, bleached spikes, flame-patterned shirt, trademark swagger. He came to promote his new cookbook and talk about his growing restaurant empire. The panel welcomed him with warm smiles, ready for what looked like a fun, food-filled Tuesday segment. Whoopi started with a softball about the cookbook. Guy lit up, animatedly describing his favorite recipes. The conversation flowed easily. The hosts asked about his restaurants, his road trips, his family. Sunny asked for hidden gems. Sarah wanted to hear about his kids. Everything felt normal. Then Joy Behar leaned forward, and just like that, the atmosphere shifted. She had been quiet up to that point, but now she had that unmistakable look in her eye the one seasoned viewers know means. The segment is about to go somewhere unexpected. She cleared her throat and brought up a recent controversy at one of his restaurants' employees complaining about working conditions. The question wasn't unusual, but the tone just sharp enough to make Guy's smile falter mid-sentence. His expression changed. He sat back, hands gripping the chair. He said the question felt unfair, especially since the issue had been resolved and his staff was satisfied with the outcome. Running a huge restaurant operation isn't perfect. He explained what matters is how you fix mistakes. His tone was steady, but clearly rattled. Joy wasn't done. She pressed harder, implying he cared more about his celebrity image than the people in his kitchens. The other hosts exchanged quick, worried glances. Whoopi tried to steer things back to the cookbook, throwing out a recipe question, but Joy cut her off. She insisted the conversation mattered, that celebrity chefs often escape scrutiny for how they treat workers. Guy leaned in now, jaw tight. He said he resented the implication. He cared deeply about his teams, had spent decades building trust, and one complaintress often at that shouldn't erase his entire career. Joy fired back. If you're in the public eye, you face accountability. Tough questions come with the territory. She asked if he thought fame meant immunity. Guy's face flushed. He said he wasn't demanding immunity, just fairness. Then he pointed out that Joy herself had faced controversies, yet sat there acting above reproach. The audience gasped. Sunny covered her mouth. Alyssa practically folded into her seat. Whoopi tried again to calm the room, but Joy wasn't stepping back. She accused him of deflecting. Guy said he wasn't deflecting, he was stating facts. If she could dish it out, she should be able to take it. The tension thickened. Producers frantically gestured to cut to commercial. No one at the table seemed to see them. Joy stood. The room went silent. She told Guy maybe he should spend less time on television and more time in his kitchens making sure his employees were treated properly. Guy rose, tutoring, visibly irritated. He said maybe Joy should spend less time lecturing and more time listening. He accused her of talking at him from the moment he sat down, and that he felt ambushed. Sarah tried to soothe, mumbling something about passion. Sunny nodded helplessly. But Guy and Joy were locked in a stare-off, chests heaving, neither willing to blink. Joy insisted it wasn't an ambush. She was doing her job as a journalist. Guy let out a bitter laugh. Calling herself a journalist, he said, was generous. Joy's face drained of color, then flushed red. She told him he was out of line. Guy shot back that she crossed the line first. Finally, Whoopi slammed her hand on the table. The crack echoed through the studio. "We're going to break," she said, voice ringing with authority. "Everyone cool off." The cameras cut. The audience sat frozen atch, whether to clap, whisper, or simply stare. But even as the commercial rolled, one thing was clear. Joy and Guy were still on their feet, still locked in that stare, and still refusing to back down. When the cameras returned, Joy and Guy were back in their seats. But the air was electric. Any hope of a calm reset had vanished. If anything, the commercial break had sharpened their edges. Whoopi tried to steer things gently. "Let's move forward," she said, her tone diplomatic. "Maybe talk about something everyone can enjoy, like Guy's favorite comfort foods." Before Guy could speak, Joy cut in. She leaned forward, eyes locked on him. "Let me be clear," she said. "I've been on television for decades. I've interviewed thousands of people. I know the difference between asking tough questions and ambushing someone. I'm sorry if you felt attacked, but I'm not apologizing for doing my job." The way she said sorry made it clear she meant nothing of it. Guy nodded slowly, unreadable. Then he spoke. "Interesting. Because from where I'm sitting, it feels a lot like a personal attack." Joy bristled. "Personal? Asking you to address legitimate concerns about your business practices." Guy leaned forward, his tone steady but sharp. "It's the way you asked." The tone. The assumption of guilt before I even got a chance to respond. You came at me like I was a villain, not someone who spent decades lifting people up through restaurants, TV, charity work. Joy rolled her eyes. That small gesture set Guy off again. "I saw that. What's so funny?" "I'm not laughing," she said, voice tight. "I'm frustrated. You're playing the victim card." "I'm not playing," Guy shot back. "I'm telling you how I feel. And if you can't handle that, maybe you shouldn't be asking provocative questions." Joy leaned in. "If you can't handle being questioned, maybe you shouldn't be a public figure." The studio fell silent. Everyone watched, riveted as the tension crackled like electricity. Alyssa tried to pivot. "Guy, can we talk about your charity work?" Guy raised a hand. "I appreciate that, but I want to finish this conversation with Joy first." He turned back to her. "I've been nothing but respectful since I walked onto this set, and it feels like you've been gunning for me from the start. Do you have a personal problem with me, or is that just the vibe I'm getting?" Joy held his gaze. "No, I don't have a personal problem with you. I have a problem with people who act untouchable. Fame and success come with responsibility. And when you have influence like yours, you answer for your mistakes." Guy's jaw tightened. "I have answered for my mistakes multiple times. But that's not what you want. You want to make a point. You're using me as a prop for your argument." That hit a nerve. Joy stood, snatching her notes. "I am not using anyone as a prop. I've been fighting for workers' rights, holding the powerful accountable long before you ever put on a chef's coat." Guy rose too. "Exactly my point. You're so busy being a crusader, you forgot how to have a normal human conversation. You don't know me. You don't know my story. You have no right to judge me based on headlines and rumors." Whoopi positioned herself between them, voice firm. "Wrap it up, you two. This is getting out of hand." Joy didn't relent. "I'm tired of being told to calm down whenever I ask hard questions. This is what the show is supposed to be, real conversations about real issues. If that makes people uncomfortable, so be it." Guy's voice rose. "Uncomfortable is one thing. What you're doing is something else entirely. You're being hostile, and there's a difference." Joy turned to the audience. "Am I being hostile?" A smattering of applause, uneasy silence, and a few frowns greeted her. Guy shook his head. "See, this is exactly the problem. You're turning this into a spectacle instead of a dialogue." Joy shot back. You're the one who made it a spectacle defensive, refusing to take accountability. The room crackled with unspoken energy. Every word, every gesture, a spark in a powder keg. No one knew how it would end. Guy said he had taken accountability. She just refused to accept it. Sarah Haynes' voice, trembling, tried to mediate. Maybe you both have valid points. Maybe you can agree to disagree. Joy shook her head. I'm not interested in agreeing to disagree. I want Guy to admit he handled the situation poorly. I'll admit that, Guy said. Joy's eyes narrowed. And I've been unfair to you from the moment you sat down. I didn't say that, Guy replied. Honesty without respect is just cruelty. The audience gasped. That line landed like a punch. Joy stared at him for a long moment, something flickering in her expression. Quietly, almost beneath the microphones, she said, I did not come here to be cruel. Guy's voice was firm. I did not come here to be disrespected. They stood like two immovable forces, neither willing to yield. Finally, sunny host, mostly silent until now, spoke up. Maybe you both need to step back, she said gently. You're coming from different places, different experiences. It's possible for Joy to ask tough questions and for Guy to feel attacked, and for both to be true at the same time. It was thoughtful, but too late. The moment had already fractured. Joy looked around the table, then at the audience, and back at Guy. Maybe it's time for me to take a real step back. The studio went still. Whoopi leaned forward. What do you mean by that? Joy's voice was calm, measured. Exactly what it sounds like. I've loved this show for years, but maybe it's time to let someone else sit in this chair. Someone who won't be accused of being too harsh, too opinionated, too much. Guy's expression softened. A mixture of surprise and concern. I'm not asking you to quit, he said quietly. I'm asking you to listen. Joy shook her head. I've heard enough. She unclipped her microphone, packed the sharp snap, echoing through the studio on, set it carefully on the table. Alyssa reached for her arm, but Joy pulled away gently. To the audience, she said, her voice steady, it's been an honor to be part of your mornings. I hope you continue to watch and support this show. She looked at Guy one last time. I hope you learned something from this. I did, he said softly. Sometimes people would rather be right than be kind. Joy said nothing. She turned and walked off the set. The remaining hosts sat frozen, staring at the empty chair she had just vacated. The audience held its breath, unsure whether to applaud, gasp, or remain in stunned silence. Guy stood there, pale hands hanging at his sides, as if he had just been hit by a truck. Whoopi finally broke the quiet, her voice strained but steady. We're going to take another break. As soon as the cameras cut, Guy turned to the remaining hosts, quieter now, almost desperate. I never wanted this to happen, he said. I came here to talk about food, to have a good time, not to make someone quit their job. Sonny put a hand on his shoulder. This isn't your fault. Tensions had been building for a while. This was just the moment it all came to a head. Guy shook his head. It feels like my fault. I should have handled it differently. I should have just let it go. Sarah spoke up gently. Both of you are passionate people. Passion leads to conflict. Sometimes it doesn't mean either of you were wrong. Alyssa nodded. Joy has always been outspoken. That's part of what makes her great, but, yes, it can create friction. Guy exhaled slowly. I understand that, but I still feel terrible. Should someone go check on Joy, make sure she's okay? Whoopi nodded. The producers are handling it. Right now, we need to figure out how to finish the show. When the cameras returned, Whoopi faced the audience directly. What you just witnessed was real, raw television. Conversations get heated when people care deeply about their perspectives. Joy is taking time to cool off, and we respect her decision. She didn't say if Joy would return because no one knew yet. Guy sat quietly, hands folded, wishing he could disappear. Whoopi leaned closer, voice gentle. "How are you feeling right now?" Guy drew a deep breath. "Awful," he admitted. "I never intended to upset anyone. I never wanted to be the reason someone walked off a show they love. Looking back, I can see where it went wrong on both sides." Joy asked a fair question, even if I didn't like the way she asked it. I got defensive too fast. Sunny asked softly, "What do you wish you had done differently?" Guy paused for a moment. "I wish I had taken a breath before responding," he said. "I wish I had tried to understand where Joy was coming from instead of immediately feeling attacked. In my line of work, I'm used to critiques my food, my restaurants, my shows. I've developed thick skin. But being questioned about how I treat people, that hits differently. It strikes at the core of who I believe I am." Alessa spoke up softly. "That's really honest. I appreciate you being vulnerable." She asked if he thought there was a way he and Joy could have had that conversation without it spiraling out of control. "Absolutely," Guy replied. "But it would have required both of us to approach it with more grace, less ego. I own my part in that, and I hope Joy can own hers too. I also understand why she felt the way she did. Holding people accountable is important. And maybe I was too quick to dismiss that." Sarah looked to the audience. "Has anyone here ever had a disagreement spiral out of control where both people were kind of right and kind of wrong at the same time?" Several hands went up. Guy nodded. "That's life. That's being human. The problem isn't that we disagreed, it's that we forgot how to disagree respectfully. I learned that lesson the hard way today, and I hope people at home can learn from it too." Whoopi leaned forward, voice firm but warm. "That's a powerful message. Thank you, Guy, for your honesty." Then, unexpectedly, she shifted her tone. "I want to talk about Joy not as a co-host, but as a friend. She's been part of this show for years. Her passion and fire are what make her special. She never backs down from a fight because she believes in standing up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. That's both her greatest strength and sometimes her biggest challenge." The audience applauded. Guy nodded along, respect clear in his eyes. Whoopi continued. "I don't know if Joy will come back today, tomorrow, or ever, but I hope. Whatever she decides, people respect her choice. She's earned that right." Guy spoke up, voice steady. "I hope she comes back. This show needs her voice, even if that voice just tore into me. Diverse perspectives, tough conversations. That's what makes a show like this matter." Sunny added, "I agree. What happened today is a reminder that live television is unpredictable and messy, but it's also real. Too often, people only see polished, scripted content and forget there are real people with real emotions behind it. What happened with Joy and Guy was uncomfortable, yes, but it was authentic. And maybe that's more valuable than a perfectly smooth interview." The audience applauded again. This time, louder. Guy looked around the set, hands folded, and spoke softly. "I want to apologize not just to Joy, but to everyone watching. I let my emotions get the best of me. I stood by my right to defend myself, but I could have done it better. I respect Joy even after everything, because at least she was honest with me. I'd rather have someone challenge me directly than smile to my face and trash me behind my back. That takes courage, and I recognize that." Whoopi asked gently, "Would you be willing to sit down with Joy off camera and talk through this?" "Absolutely," Guy said without hesitation. "In a heartbeat. I believe in second chances, in the power of conversation. If Joy's open to it, I'd love the opportunity to start over. I'll listen more, react less, and I hope she'll do the same." Whoopi smiled. "I'll pass that along, and I appreciate your willingness to make things right." The show wrapped soon after. The hosts thanked Guy for sticking around and thanked the audience for their patience. As the credits rolled, Guy shook hands with each host, exchanged quiet words, and then walked off the set. The audience gave him a standing ovation. He waved, smiled weakly, and left, leaving everyone wondering what would happen next. The studio buzzed with conversation. Some thought Joy had overreacted. Some thought Guy had been disrespectful. Most agreed that pride had gotten in the way of a productive conversation, but everyone agreed on one thing. They had just witnessed something extraordinary and scripted. Real television that would be talked about for years. Would Joy return? Would she and Guy reconcile? What did this mean for the show's future? No one knew. One thing was certain, even in a world of managed images and scripted responses, real human conflict breaks through. Sometimes it leads to growth, understanding, and change. Sometimes it leads to someone walking off a set and never coming back. Only time would tell. So, what do you think? Was Joy right to walk off, or should she have stayed and worked it out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, because in live television, you never know what's going to happen next.